Throughout all 5 chapters, we never learned who the player is. They have no name, no face, no normal past. We're told only one thing: a former Playtime Company employee who returned to the factory after a terrible letter. It would seem clear enough, but the further the story goes, the more details don't add up. And if you put them together, the picture becomes very convenient. The player, most likely, is not human. Now, let me try to explain. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. We'll only get some answers to our questions in the 6th part as, according to rumors, it will be the final chapter where the decisive battle with the prototype will take place. But before that, we need to reveal some details. Let's start with the most obvious. In the 5th chapter, the prototype pierces the player with a huge claw and throws them into a vat of poppy gel. The screen goes dark, the words "Game Over" appear. That's it, the end. But then Giblet comes, hits them with a staff, and the player simply gets up alive without serious injuries. People don't survive like that. It's physically impossible. But it's not just about this survival. It's about what exactly saved them. Poppy gel isn't some magical water. It's the substance on which the entire factory operates. It's what turned the girl Poppy into a living doll. All the experiments are made from it. Huggy Wuggy, Mommy, long legs. This is biological material that brings dead flesh to life and fuses it with machinery. And when the player falls into this vat and comes out whole, their body simply accepts this substance as native, as its own. An ordinary person in this vat would dissolve or die from shock, but not the player. Now let's remember how the prototype behaved with the player throughout the entire game. It didn't just try to kill them, it observed, tested, and studied. In the 4th chapter, it's revealed that it was the prototype all along pretending to be a kind helper named Ollie, guiding the player, giving hints, where to go, opening the necessary doors. All this help was a trap and a test at the same time. But the question is, why such a complicated game? The prototype has enough strength to kill a person immediately. It did this hundreds of times with factory employees, with toys that dared to oppose it. It's huge, fast, and merciless. If the player were just a random former employee, they would have been killed in the first minutes, back in the 1st chapter. But no, the prototype leads them forward, studies their reactions, watches how they cope, like a scientist observing an experiment. In the 5th chapter, when the prototype finally attacks directly, it still doesn't kill. It pierces immediately but leaves them alive, throws them in the gel, as if it already knows that the gel won't destroy them, as if that's exactly what it needed. Now let's move to another detail that's easy to miss. At the end of the 5th chapter, Poppy's monologue sounds. She talks about the player. Her words are very strange. She doesn't say, "You're human," or "You're an employee." She speaks of them as someone who is needed specifically for this place, as if their appearance here isn't an accident, but part of something bigger. And now let's remember the letter from the very beginning of the game. The player receives an envelope with a note and a cassette. The note says that the missing employees are still here. The player reads this and immediately goes to the abandoned factory without hesitation, without questions, and without fear. A normal person doesn't behave like that. A normal person would at least call the police, tell someone where they're going, take someone with them. This is either incredible stupidity or they simply aren't afraid because they know, subconsciously or not, that nothing will happen to them. There's one more thing. Throughout the entire game, the player endures things that would kill any ordinary person several times over. Falls from great heights, blows that should break bones, collisions with monsters that tore employees apart effortlessly. But the player gets up every time and keeps going. Of course, you could attribute this to game mechanics, but the game's lore hints at something else. There's a theory that explains all of this. The player is one of Elliot Ludwig's first experiments, possibly even earlier than the prototype itself. An experiment that was created long enough ago to acquire something resembling a human personality and memories. Memories of working at the factory, memories that seem real, but were actually implanted. That's why they remember themselves as a former employee. That's why they returned after the letter without fear. That's why their body accepts poppy gel as a native substance. They're made from it, and that's why the prototype doesn't kill them immediately, because it doesn't see them as a random person. It sees them as an experiment, possibly someone worth studying before destroying or absorbing. There's another version, even darker. The player is a specially created tool who was deliberately sent to the factory. Someone wrote that letter. Someone prepared the cassette. Someone knew that this specific person would go to that exact place. The doctor, whose consciousness is discovered in a backup at the end of the 5th chapter, fits perfectly the role of the one who prepared all this. He studied experiments all his life. He could create a being that looks like a human, thinks like a human, and remembers itself as human, but is capable of surviving where a human would perish. The perfect agent for infiltrating the factory. And the most frightening detail in all of this is that throughout 5 chapters, amid all this horror, they never once stop and think about what's happening to them, why they don't feel pain the way they should. They just keep moving forward, as if there's no survival instinct inside them, which every living person has. In the 6th chapter, apparently, this theme will finally come to the forefront. Harley Sawyer is alive. He has information. And the first question he might ask the player is, how did you survive? Do you even know what you are? That's when everything will fall into place. While we're waiting for the final 6th part, I suggest recalling the climactic moments of the previous parts. Chapter 1. A tight squeeze. A former employee receives a letter and a VHS cassette with the hint, "Find the flower," and returns to the abandoned factory, where 10 years ago all the staff disappeared. The player finds the grab pack tool, which is a backpack with mechanical arms, and follows through the factory, and is hunted by a huge blue toy, Huggy Wuggy. The player manages to throw it down a shaft. At the end, they find the trapped doll Poppy and open the case. Poppy comes to light. Chapter 2. Fly in a web. Poppy immediately runs away. The player is forced to search for her. On the way, they meet a new toy, Mommy Longlegs, who forces them to pass 3 deadly games to get the access code. At the end, the toy dies in a grinder. She's dragged by the metal hand of the prototype. The player finds Poppy, gets on a train with her, but she secretly changes the route. The train goes to Playcare, the children's orphanage at the factory. Chapter 3. Deep sleep. The player is captured by a cat-like creature, Catnap, who exhales red sleeping gas. The player falls into a former orphanage for orphans right inside the factory. Cute animal toy live here, which turned out to be mutated. Catnap dies in the finale and sacrifices himself to the prototype. Poppy and Kissy Missy show the player a recording about the hour of joy. At the end, Kissy Missy sacrifices herself to save the player. Chapter 4. Safe Haven. The player finds a shelter created by a toy named Yarnaby, who hid those who didn't want to fight here. But the prototype blows up the shelter, killing almost all the inhabitants. Yarnaby, in grief, turns into a monster and attacks. It has to be destroyed. The main revelation of the chapter, the mysterious Ollie, who helped on the phone starting from the 3rd chapter, is the prototype itself, which manipulated the player and Poppy all this time. Poppy runs away in horror. Then the player falls into the depths of the factory. Huggy Wuggy is alive and meets the player at the doors. Chapter 5. Ruined Critters. The player falls into the laboratory, the darkest place of the factory, the prototype's domain. Inside-out creatures live nearby, the results of its experiments. A new ally, Giblet, a small toy with a conscience. The main lore revelation, an audio recording of a conversation between Elliot Ludwig, the company's founder, and a boy named Oliver, or Ollie. It's finally revealed. Elliot used Oliver as a test subject to develop the Poppy gel formula and resurrect his daughter Poppy. The prototype knew about this and hates Poppy. That's why the prototype finally shows itself completely. A huge spider-like clown mutant with body parts from other toys. It kills Huggy Wuggy and Kissy, breaks Poppy's head, pierces the player, and takes Poppy away. Giblet saves the player. They reach the backup server. It turns out that Dr. Harley Sawyer, who was thought dead, is alive. His consciousness was preserved as a backup copy. This is where the chapter ends. What's the meaning of the whole story? Essentially, this is a story about corporate evil and its consequences. Playtime Company, under the pretext of creating toys, conducted experiments on people, turning them into biometric monsters. The prototype is one of those victims who ultimately destroyed its torturers, but became the same kind of monster. Poppy, the founder's daughter, resurrected through these experiments, is trying to stop the prototype. The player is presumably also an experiment. It's just not stated directly yet. If you enjoyed this breakdown of Poppy Playtime, write about it in the comments. I'd really appreciate if you'd like and subscribe to the channel. See you very soon. Good luck to everyone and goodbye.